If you could get a YouTuber to review any movie you want, what would it be? Recently on the live stream, the audience members each suggested a movie for me to watch and review. We added them to a wheel, Patreon members got better odds, we spun it, and now I've got 5 movies I was forced to watch and talk about. Something trippy, something spooky, and almost something world-ending. Starting with Saint Maud, recommended by Robert Smith. This one is a tough film to figure out at first. The plot is fairly simple, but emotionally I didn't have my bearings. We witness the world through the protagonist's eyes, not just her hallucinations, but even the way people act towards her seems exaggerated sometimes. The camera isn't giving us the whole truth. It's all filtered through this young woman. But the reason why I was so emotionally unsteady is because as much as the film was putting us in her state of mind, I didn't get the feeling that I was supposed to empathize with her. I was physically there, but emotionally it was like watching bacteria through a microscope. I don't see this as a negative, I found this enthralling. And the more the film went on, the more immersive it became, and the less I identified with this hopelessly twisted individual. It was like being pulled in 2 different directions. Saint Maud dives into the deep end of some powerful themes. How does faith turn into fanaticism? How does fanaticism escalate to delusion? The film explores this, but never forgets to be an atmospheric horror film. I'd argue that showing, not telling, is more important to horror than any other genre, and Saint Maud is so devoted to this, it's practically its thesis statement. The sound design is purposeful and ominous. The shot composition is beautifully staged. And as the film progresses, both the sound and visuals shift. Sound gets heavier, visuals become less centered and less reliable. You realize that Maud is going mad, not in a frenetic kind of way, but slowly, hypnotically, as the protagonist is drip-fed images and sensations that corrupt her perspective. The lead actress made me buy every second of the character's transformation, and Jennifer L. eats up this role as the crass woman who sees her cancer as both a source of despair and freedom. It is a small-scale story, and you could accurately describe the plot as Nurse Goes Batshit, but then again, you could call Black Swan Dancer Goes Batshit, or Jaws Nom Nom. The film has gone up every time I've seen it. It's moody, intelligent, and deeply disturbing. 8 out of 10.
I hate to be the one to break it to you, but it's just you and me here. Nothing you do matters. Well, that was easy.
Next is The Holy Mountain, recommended by Not Without Singing the Blues. You know, last time I did this video, I talked about how the cringe fest Fred the movie almost got chosen. Well, apparently the gods wanted to test my heart rate this time around. Alright, second movie, here we go. Don't be Fred. No, keep going. Yes! I feel like there's a tendency to rate something higher if you don't fully understand it, and I can't say whether that's insecurity or open-mindedness. I understood aspects of The Holy Mountain. The religious allegories are clear. There is commentary on civil unrest, the military, sexuality, and science. But honestly, commentary may be the wrong word. This felt more like a playground, a slew of colorful ideas. Like a kid playing with Legos and putting the spacemen with the pirates next to the Japanese fortress and it's all underwater. I enjoy when films are experimental, and enough can't be said about this movie from a visual standpoint. The number of settings, costumes, and especially props in this film is insane. Animals are everywhere. The use of primary colors is striking. Let's not forget the large electronic cube that is provoked to orgasm by a naked woman holding a tube, and then it gives birth to a baby cube. This is fearless, imaginative stuff. But I was bored. The visuals are always engaging, but very little else was. I didn't care about the characters and had a hard time becoming invested when the story constantly changes locations and tones. Again, I'm positive there's symbolism I am missing. Maybe that elongated frog war was truly necessary, but as much as I am supposed to love this, I had trouble doing so. I always say that a confusing film should make me want to understand it, to study its frame and to look up explanations online, and I simply didn't here. Now, before all the comments call me a pleb roll in, I do think the Holy Mountain starts to get interesting when the alchemist arrives. Shortly after, 7 people representing planets are introduced, and each one is so vibrant and conceptually wild that I couldn't wait for the next one. It's like an illicit Wes Anderson intro. More than that, the section reminded me of the short story Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe, where it depicts all these different rooms and windows in painstaking detail, and you can picture them vividly in your mind. So yeah, this is a tough one for me. Impressive coordination of the set pieces, endless creativity, and yet there's still a part of me watching this and thinking, what the hell is that? Why is that character walking so slow? Why is this acting so bad? Why do I feel like this is Pubic Hair the movie? Maybe this rating will go up in time. I hope people can appreciate that I'm honest with my ratings and don't succumb to peer pressure. 6 out of 10, don't hurt me. Next is Adam's Apples, recommended by Depp Strider. This is listed as a dark comedy, and yikes, this really puts the dark in dark comedy. Yeah, there's a scene involving cookies that is hilarious, and another comical moment with a pistol, but this movie is much more drama than anything. And to be honest, by the end, it left me feeling pretty depressed. Adam's Apples shows the dual side of intense optimism. On the one hand, it can be inspiring. On the other, maybe there's such a thing as being too optimistic to where it conflicts with reality. And again with this duality, part of me respects that the main character doesn't change that much. We expect this neo-Nazi to suddenly become sweet, or at least better, but many people in this world don't change, don't improve, don't see anything wrong with their behavior or reasons to alter it. It's realistic, but when I'm watching the movie, I'm also thinking, well, this guy's an asshole, I don't like him, I don't care about him, I don't even find him that interesting. So I'm left with a boring prick, with no goals or drive other than making people's lives slightly worse. And if I wanted more of that, I would reactivate my Twitter account. The real strength of the movie is Mads Mikkelsen, who is wonderful as expected. He adds so much authenticity to the character. Even when his positive outlook becomes borderline ridiculous, it never hurt my immersion, never made me disbelieve him as a real person. Visually, the movie is just awful. Bad lighting and missed opportunities. Shot composition is efficient at best. The music choices are odd. Some sound like a Miyazaki film, some sound like a goofy comedy, and one track is basically James Bond. I can dig dark comedies, Fargo, The Lobster, The Death of Stalin, but the issue I have with Adam's Apples is that it's so pleased with its punchlines and biblical allegory that it doesn't do much else. And so when the punchlines don't land, and the allegory is as ham-fisted as a delicatessen with a 3-drink minimum, I need more. Luckily, I did get a few things out of the film. Mads Mikkelsen's acting, the theme of optimism. But I do think this could have been better. 6 out of 10. Next is Slumdog Millionaire by George Blackcat McCaw. Slumdog Millionaire is one of those paradoxes. It's a good film about which I have very little to say. The movie is well shot, but I can't remember a single shot except a letter written on a mirror. It's well written, but I struggle to think of a single line. There is so much emotion swirling throughout the film, but for most of the runtime, I didn't feel much other than being generally entertained. Not that there are no sparks. A scene with a child getting an autograph is adorable. Another sequence with a child being disfigured is horrifying. Hearing the song Paper Planes by MIA is a delight. So why did I prefer the films Milk or The Dark Knight from the same year? Because one felt so alive with passionate protest and vibrant characters, and the other so well-paced and nerve-wracking with a phenomenal villain. This one's just good. Not underlined, not italicized, just good. Slumdog Millionaire's whole time-jumping concept gave it a pleasant rhythm, but it also made me feel like I was on a railroad, chugging along without expecting or receiving many surprises. As sad as the film can be, it comes across as a little manipulative, even sappy, especially when it comes to the gangster crime element. I think some of this is personal preference or just gut feeling. I still think this is reasonably well crafted. The pacing never drags. The children and adolescents are portrayed with realistic behavior. Tension builds nicely in the finale. Our main character is easy to root for and his motivations are clear. Solid movie, not the best tourism video though. 7 out of 10.
The biggest gamble in television history. And go for the final question and a staggering 20 million rupees. Are you ready for that question?
Yes.
And last is Before Sunset, the sequel to Before Sunrise, recommended by Alika Kelly. For context, Sunrise followed two travelers who meet on a train and hit it off so well that they decide to spend the next 24 hours together. Sunset takes place 9 years later, and the two happen to meet again. So let's just get to the meat of this. Sunset moves much faster than the first, but I wasn't getting nearly as much out of it. However, it's one of those stories where most of the flaws seem intentional. The conversations are on brand for the characters and where they are now. Of course, the idealistic 20-year-olds have entertaining conversations about purpose, religion, and sociology. And of course, the 30-year-olds will mostly talk about the past. They are in a better place in terms of career, but they are both wounded and dispassionate. Regret and frustration burn at the core, and the more they talk, the more that core is exposed. Now, while these conversations make logical sense, I was a little underwhelmed by the first two acts. The dialogue just isn't as intriguing to me. But then, there's a wonderful moment with Julie Delpy in the limo, and that's where the movie really starts to pick up. She spirals, venting about all the men who didn't settle with her while acknowledging her own failures with commitment. She feels nauseous being around someone for too long, but is embittered at losing her own romanticism. The scene does a great job exploring the different contradictions in a way that's humorous and profound. And when it's Ethan Hawke's turn to monologue, it's excellent too, showcasing a man hiding years of regret with the fakest smile stamped on his face. In a way, the talking in the first two acts is like a whitewash, a way for the characters to hide and sanitize what they're actually going through. But then something breaks, and it becomes a different movie and a far superior one. Is it fair to criticize a film for not giving me more of that earlier? I wouldn't want them to break down in tears in the first 10 minutes. So what do I want? Maybe less flustered acting from Hawke in the first couple scenes? Maybe the topics being a bit more interesting overall? Maybe just one more setting to spice it up a little? I still think this is very good. Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke have fantastic chemistry. I can't say enough good things about the third act. Finally, I will always appreciate a romance that is willing to show the after. Love does not stop at the end credits, and Before Sunset is dedicated to portraying how bitter, beautiful, and above all else, complicated love can be. 7 out of 10, I'm really looking forward to the third one.
They're looking at me and I feel like I'm a million miles from her and I know that there's something wrong, you know, that that I can't keep living like this, that there's gotta be something more to love than commitment. But then I think that I might have given up on the whole idea of romantic love, that I might have put it to bed that day when you weren't there.
That's a batch of movies I had to watch. What movies do you wish people talked about more? Be sure to comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon for fun rewards, and enjoy the rest of the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.